Well, all throughout our lives and every day, we are always taking into consideration hazards, and we never know what those hazards might come as. And sometimes we have to look up. And in this case, we're looking up at the trees here at Glenmere Park. And tree hazards is the topic that we have today, talking with Shiloh Hatcher, who is the forestry manager with the city of Greeley. Shiloh, great to have you again.
Thanks for coming out. Good weather today, finally.
We finally got some good weather, and lucky us, we get to be out here. You have a coat, so I'll just stick close to you. You can radiate a little heat to me. As I mentioned, we're talking about tree hazards today. Can you explain a little bit to folks at home exactly what is a tree hazard?
So we like to tell people that every tree is hazardous, regardless of its size. But obviously, the bigger tree and the older the tree and certain species have more of a hazardous potential. Hazards meaning, or defects, meaning branches that could fall and hurt somebody or something. And in the worst case scenario, entire trees that could fail and cause more serious injury. So thinking back to the massive snowstorm that we had in 2011, in the fall of 2011, that's a storm that found defects in trees and brought them to the ground. So aside from heavy snow loading to the point of breaking branches on trees, the inspections that I did on the significant failures, there were visible defects in those trees. So those are the kinds of things in future snowstorms, windstorms, have a susceptibility for failure.
Right, and a lot of times we just kind of take for granted. We say, oh, there's these big trees, they're big, they're strong, but it doesn't take much for those trees to break down, if, like you said, if there's a lot of weight or load that's placed on them, and sometimes even if there isn't, and it can cause a little bit of damage. I know that there were a vehicle or so that was kind of reaped the benefits of not having good tree care.
Right, that's correct. And so every tree needs a routine checkup. That's what we're trying to do. Our goal is to try and visit each tree, inspect each tree every 5 years. So we want to do 20% of all the trees that we manage each year. So park trees is about 12,000 trees, and the public street trees is about 4,000 trees. So we're trying to see those trees on a routine basis at least every 5 years, just to visually get a handle on the defects that could exist in those trees and try and weed those defects out ahead of time.
Okay, and how do you know if a tree is hazardous? I mean, I'm assuming this takes a little bit of a trained eye. I can't maybe just go out and look at a tree and say, oh, it's, because most people I think would say, yeah, that tree looks fine. You have folks that, like yourself, that are trained to notice what those defects are.
Right, we have certified, ISA certified arborists on staff, and we're out to doing tree inspections. Some of the things that we're doing are ground inspections. We're not doing a full canopy inspection, such as putting an inspector up in a tree to look at what's going on the top. So we're just looking at things on the ground. We'll do a root check. Here's a simple list of what we're actually looking for in the trees. So are there large dead branches? Are there detached branches? Those are kinds of things that homeowners, private citizens can see.
Right.
It'll tip you off. Does the tree have cavities or rotten wood along the trunk or in major branches? Are there cracks or splits in the trunks of the trees or where branches are attached? Has the trunk developed a lean? What structural problems exist throughout the tree, and are there any visible problems in the root system of the tree?
All right, we actually have someone behind us today who's doing a little bit of a quick inspection of the trees here in the park. And I noticed that he had his clipboard. He has kind of a checklist of things that he's looking for. Once he's gone through that checklist and gone back, is there a certain number of those that if they're marked yes, you say, yeah, this is a tree that needs to go? Or is there kind of a plan that you guys set up? You say, well, it's good maybe for another year, or that kind of thing is what I'm wondering.
Right, we prioritize what we find. So if there are serious defects, we put it on this year's to-do list. And obviously we can't see every tree every year, but the ones that we're inspecting, if there are serious problems, we'll put it on a to-do list to take care of this year. If it's not as serious, we'll put it on a notification list to come back in a season or two to check it again.
Right, well, that leads us to a project that you just recently did this year, which is on 8th Avenue, and there were several trees along there that's near the campus that you guys did some work on.
That was an area of town that really needed a lot of work, and because it's on such a major roadway and there's no parking or anything like that there, it caused us some traffic control issues. So when I went out and inspected a few trees and noticed there are some serious problems out there, some trimming needs and some removal needs, we decided we're going to try and hit everything in a 2-block stretch that we could. So we did that. It was a major project, and we got it done, and a lot safer now.
Yeah. Now, if I'm a homeowner and I suspect, can't get that out, suspect that my tree might need a little help, how do I go about that? Do I contact your office, or do I just go out and find somebody that can trim that branch for me?
Sure. A couple of things. I would recommend having your tree inspected once a year is great.
Okay.
3 to 5 years is what I recommend. So have somebody, a professional arborist, look at it every 3 to 5 years. If you're having work done on your tree, make sure that company is licensed with the city of Greeley. That way we know what their insurance and knowledge and capabilities are. And feel free to call us. We'd love to talk trees, 339-2405. We're on our website, greeleyforestry.org.
Okay, all right. Well, Shiloh, thank you so much for helping us to look up a little bit and consider the trees in our community, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for coming out.
All right, so make sure you do check out those trees annually or as soon as you can, and make sure you keep Greeley green.